Dumas from TaxConnex. I'm here to talk to you about sales tax compliance. Specifically, TaxConnex has developed a 5-step process and methodology for determining if your business is in compliance with sales tax laws where you do business. Before I get started with that process, let me give you some background. I think everybody would recognize that we're all a lot more aware of sales tax now than we were just a few years ago. This is due primarily to the increased number of internet transactions that occur in all our businesses, as well as the increased scrutiny by the federal government on internet sales tax issues, specifically the Marketplace Fairness Act. In our business, we know all our clients, all our prospective clients want to comply. It's difficult for them to comply with sales tax laws because they're often basing decisions on inaccurate or confusing information. Our 5-step methodology will help overcome that confusion. Two of the areas that provide the most confusion are with Nexus and the taxation of internet sales. People have incorrect conclusions with regard to both of those issues. As I go through this 5-step process, I want you to consider cost and risk. I don't want you to spend $100 fixing a $10 sales tax compliance issue. So as you go through the 5-step process, be sure you consider the total cost versus the risk associated with each of the steps in the process. The first step in our 5-step process is determining Nexus. Nexus basically says the states in which you do business have the authority to force you to collect their sales tax. So you have to determine if you have Nexus in the states in which you do business. The second step is in those states where you have Nexus, you need to determine if your product or service is subject to tax in that state. Generally, tangible personal property is subject to sales tax. Services are generally not. However, each state has nuances associated with the taxation of both property and services, so you still have to be careful there. The third step is determine if you have any prior period exposure associated with your Nexus. Once you've determined you have Nexus in a state, you need to say, okay, how long have I had Nexus and not been complying? In that situation, you want to estimate the amount of sales tax exposure you may have. I only say this because you need to know what the exposure is so you can proceed to step 4, which is finding a methodology to mitigate that exposure. There's a lot of options you have to reduce any prior period sales tax liability if you handle it proactively and strategically. The 5th and final step is implement your plan. So many businesses go through this 5-step process and get overwhelmed or fearful with the results and don't take any action. Take action. The more time that passes, the more risk you potentially have with your sales tax. The other thing I want to say is this 5-step process works for not only people that currently have sales tax issues or aren't in compliance, but it also works for people who believe they're in compliance because your business changes all the time, every day. So your Nexus, your taxability that may have existed 2 years ago may not be the same today. So thank you for joining me. Join us for our next video dealing specifically with Nexus.